Today we're going to talk about 7 traps that homeschooling parents especially, but parents in general make in terms of mistakes they make when teaching their kids about money. And I've broken these into just 7 trends that I've seen. The first one is practical skills trap. This is where we focus exclusively as parents on the tactical things like, hey, this is how you balance a checkbook. This is how you do X, Y, or Z. It's very, very tactical, and it skips all the big principles that determines how the money actually got there, how is it saved, how is it used. So here's the thing, though. So my wife and I, we homeschooled our kids for 20 years. We have 4 kids, all the way through K through 12. I promise you, we understand that time is scarce. And there are many times when my wife and we were concerned whether we weren't even keeping up with all of the core subjects. So what I'm going to do as we go through these with each one of these things is recommend something with that context. So in this case, for parents, I would recommend doing Seb Bunny's The Hidden Cost of Money on Audible, just because you can listen to it when you're driving and if you don't have a lot of time to read, but it really helps with understanding the importance of this, the gravity of these things, and how they impact everyday life. I think it'll impact how you teach your kids. And with that, I also have a recommendation for how you actually teach this. It doesn't have to be a formal class. So we say, hey, it's when I say we're teaching something and we're too practical about it, we don't have to have a classroom to break through this. Consider that kids are always observing you. So bring that, or let them sit with you when you're paying your bills, for example. If you're paying your taxes, preparing your taxes, that might scare them a lot, but it'll help them understand something different about things that you're not going to get in a classroom. If you and your spouse have regular conversations like budgeting, planning discussions, let your kids sit there and be part of it. Let them ask questions. They'll pick it up. They will observe things. All right, let's move on to the second one, the meritocracy trap. This is one that I actually fell into. This one's personal for me. Raising kids to work hard and to save diligently and basically play by the rules. Those are things that just sound right. They sound right. The problem is it's a rigged system. The monetary system is rigged. And so what we really ought to be doing then is teaching them what's actually happening. To really open your minds on this, one of the books that influenced me on this was John Taylor Gatto's Dumbing Us Down. The third trap, that is money is budgeting trap. And I will tell you, after going to homeschooling conferences, I would also label this the Dave Ramsey trap. This is the idea that financial education is all about how you're spending, your spending habits, and make sure you're spending wisely, minimize your debt. So it misses the whole foundation of what actually makes money sound. So teaching about budgeting and debt is good, debt avoidance, I get it, but ignoring where money comes from, why it's losing value, things like that, we're missing some very, very fundamental things. It's an easy trap to fall into. So, like I said, I've talked to a lot of parents at homeschooling at homeschooling conferences. Austrian economics, where we talk about sound money, Austrian economics is rarely understood. I highly recommend Murray Rothbard's What Has Government Done for Our Money? In some places you can get a free copy, like the Mises Institute. So this is as close to plain English as you can get to explain what's going on. I would say the middle schoolers and above would be able to read it. Certainly something I recommend for parents. Moving on. Number 4 is the invisible theft trap. So for those who do study Austrian economics and understand sound money, this idea is you may already be teaching this, but still a lot of people do not teach this, and it's not taught in public schools. The idea is that inflation is a taxation without representation. In fact, the idea is, if you think about it, the American independence, the exact tyranny that sparked the movement is this idea of taxation without representation. And that is exactly what's going on with inflation. Now, inflation is also something that is the reason why millennials can't afford a house right now. That is, it's a reason why college grads are viewed as disadvantaged versus those who pursue the trades when you look at as you look for unemployment after you get done with high school. So, did you know that price deflation is not only a natural outcome of technology, it's actually a good thing? I will tell you, in business school, 2 years of business school, that is not what they taught us. That is not what they taught us. Reading Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth was a pivotal moment for me personally. I can't recommend that book enough. Highly recommend, even if you already understand the subject of inflation, to read that. You'll probably make your kids read it as well. All right, moving on. We're almost done. We're more than halfway now. Number 5 is the freedom paradox trap. This is when we're teaching kids about to value liberty in all these different areas. So we're talking about government and things like that, but we don't link it with money. We talk about, we value liberty and things, but we usually are not talking about money. So teaching kids about freedom and limited government and the Constitution, these are all great, but we have to make sure we also connect things to monetary and fiscal policy. And teaching American history and civics while skipping things like the 1913 creation of the Fed, it matters, and it matters for liberty. So going back to how difficult it is with time, one of the things that my my wife did to try to teach more to the kids is she would have books on tape. We age ourselves there. I mean, CDs and everything else now. But she would have audible books that she would play when they were going to soccer, or when they were going to co-ops, or whatever it was. I highly recommend that you do that as well. The book on this subject that I think is helpful is Ron Paul's End the Fed. So number 6, homeschooling irony trap. So homeschooling itself is not ironic, but I do think it's interesting that we pulled kids out from government schools to protect them from indoctrination. But we leave it up to things that are influenced by the government, like the money, to help them understand finances. So one of the reasons is homeschooling parents feel overwhelmed. There's all this curriculum you have to fit in. You have busy schedules and math and reading and science. These are the types of things that are almost always going to be prioritized. But money impacts our kids' lives, and it impacts their lives their entire life. So as a priority, I do think we need to move it into the mandatory or obligated curriculum. One of the things that I recommend for this, because this is harder to do, is, again, if you're traveling back and forth with the kids anyways, you can also use podcast. And one of the ones that I found that will link in different current events and historical events together with this money context is the Audio Mises Wire. Highly recommend you check that one out. The last one on my list is the idea of the subject matter expert trap. So you can just imagine a lot of people when you first start to homeschool and you're like, I don't understand this subject well enough. Maybe I don't understand economics well enough to teach it to my kids. I might have fear that I won't have all the information, or maybe I have wrong information about inflation and monetary policy and sound money principles, et cetera, et cetera. Or maybe I just think that the concepts are too complex for young children to grasp. I think you can start teaching things to kids at any age. And of course, we have free market. Kids have resources, but there are others out there. Today, the one that I'm going to recommend is a cartoon show that is from the Tuttle Twins. That's the name of the show, Tuttle Twins, and it's on Angel Studios. So those are the 7 traps that I see parents making or falling into when it comes to teaching money to their kids. I hope this helps. I hope these resources help you. Best of luck with that. We'll see you on the next video.